I'm Emma G. Rose.
I'm Shell Shearer. We're indie authors.
And this is Indie Book Talk. Hello and welcome back to Indie Book Talk. Today my dog is grumbling, but we are going to ignore that and we're going to talk about Unravel by Amelia Loken. Listeners may remember that we have a bit of a relationship with Amelia now. She came on the show to talk about Unravel and her writing as a writer who is losing her hearing and writes about a deaf main character. She also, long before that, sent us a first chapter of a work in progress that we absolutely loved. So we were ecstatic to finally get our hands on Unravel.
Yes, and this is the first time we'll be both having read the book and reviewing it. So it'll be more like a little book club.
Itty bitty book club.
Itty bitty book club. You can join us in our book club, though.
Yeah, read it. Tell us what you think. Tweet to us.
So since we both read it, we'll just have to ask each other about stuff. So we normally talk about things like the cover.
I love this cover. I think it's beautiful.
It is. It's like it's a red background with like a black silhouetted tree and unravels in this pretty blue, and it's obviously so
it's embroidered.
Not giving anything away that her magic is sewing based, thread linen based. How would it's material based? How would you think it's called?
I think I guess it's a material based magic, but I think they called it like embroidery magic because there is another character, at least one other character, who has magic, and that's like metal based.
Right. So hers is very much like a sewing kind of thing. And that's what the cover kind of gives you a tiny little taste of once you know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the first time I saw the cover, not having the whole background, I just thought, oh, that's a cool, like stylized tree. And then when I started to really look at it, I realized everything's embroidered. Even the author's name is like embroidered into
I just noticed that. That's cool. I like that you can go back and find these little touches of things. It's like it was very thought out.
It was. I also like the way that you can see like bits of kind of fabric or something. There's like that blue kind of underneath where the title is that sort of, it looks like you could wipe it away, like
right.
Scrape it away with your fingers, but you can't obviously because it's a book cover.
Go ahead, try. I want to see you try.
I did. I was. You can't see me, but that's what I was just doing. I was like, it's beautiful. Let's get to the actual book, though.
Okay.
So the little blurb on the front is deaf princess witch. Some identities you embrace, some will get you killed. Which is basically the story.
It's a great pull-in. It is. It tells you who she is. And then I guess I hadn't realized how old she was, but the back tells you she is 16.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess this might be technically a young adult novel.
I would say this is a young adult novel in terms of the age of the character. Mm-hmm. And, usually young adult is kind of also coming of age, like stepping into your own individuality or power or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the trajectory I think is happening here. She starts out sort of literally cloistered, like she's living in a nunnery and then goes out into the world. So I think that's a pretty straightforward YA.
That's true. I guess I just never even think about it because I don't really care what something's quantified as before I pick it up. I'm going to read it if it's a good book and I enjoyed it, so I don't really care where it's shelved.
Right. The only reason you care where it's shelved is so you can find it in the store.
Right. So on an aside, I guess I didn't realize this was a Kickstarter.
I didn't either, actually. I had no idea she'd done a Kickstarter.
Oh, I found it out by just now looking at the back of the book.
Oh.
There's a special thank you to our Kickstarter backers. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That seems to be such a big thing right now, is kickstarting books.
Well, I think it's really nice to kickstart books because you can know that you have an audience, right? You know that you're going to sell X number because you've already had them committed to doing that. And so things like cover design and editing, you can feel confident spending the money that you really need to spend to get something really good because you've kickstarted it.
That's very true. I guess it's just a matter of, we could talk about it on a separate episode, but trying to get those Kickstarter people in there in the first place.
Yes, and we did have an episode with Dirk Manning,
Yes.
who's a comic book guy, and he has had some great success with Kickstarter. But there is a learning curve, and it's something we can absolutely talk about again another time.
Okay, but back to the book.
Yeah, back to the book. We keep getting sidetracked.
No, heavens forbid us sidetracked.
Never.
So when we talked to her, she had mentioned that, obviously the main character is deaf, or not completely deaf, but hard of hearing. And she uses a magic way, and I'm not giving anything away here because it's mentioned pretty early on,
Yeah.
that allows her to hear more than not, which I thought was a pretty cool plot device.
I thought that was great because if you had a main character who is completely deaf, and if somebody out there has written that, I would love to read it. But if you have a main character who's completely deaf and is in situations where they don't have an interpreter or they don't have someone to help them, that's really, really hard. And this character, for good chunks of the story, doesn't necessarily have someone with them. So I think having that device where we could get just enough to know what's going on really made for an
Is that your
interesting.
puppy?
Okay, sorry. So Teddy has discovered that there is a mirror in the back of my little space heater that has it's got fake fireplace look. And he's discovered there's a mirror in the back of it, but Teddy does not understand mirrors because he's a pupper. And so he growls at his own reflection in the mirror of my space heater. And that is what you were just hearing.
How dare that dog be in there? I mean,
I
really.
know. Rude. It's rude is what it is.
I love it. Okay, so back to the main character. I was a little concerned at first when she said that the way she was doing the dialogue was that she'd do like a word and then dot, 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 and words and then dot, dot, dot. And I was like, I guess I couldn't really picture how that would flow.
Yeah, I was concerned.
So when I started reading, I'm like, oh, that works just fine. And I completely got that we were only getting those certain words because that's all she could hear.
Yeah, and I think I would have liked there to be a time when the missing part was really, really important.
Yes.
But I also get why, as an author, you would try not to do that because you don't want to annoy your reader with it either. You do want them to invest in the story with you. But I did feel like there was maybe a missed opportunity to have her miss something really important because she physically could not hear it.
And have it cause tension somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's more books coming, so maybe that'll be in the future. But yeah, there was definitely opportunities where vital things could be missed, and it could then cause havoc. But there was quite enough tension. I mean,
there was so much havoc.
Yeah, I don't feel like the book was lacking tension or havoc. There was a lot of chaos.
Yeah. This was a lot of times you read a fantasy story like this one where it's a completely immersive world and you feel like you can just sort of kind of wander along and bad stuff happens or there's tense moments but you can kind of relax in between. This book really felt to me very tense the whole way through. Almost there's even a point when she's basically imprisoned and you're still tense the whole time.
Yeah, you're like wait, what?
So I think there was a great sense of tension, but there was also a sense of this could be, a parallel world to ours or the Middle Ages with magic kind of feel. But it felt like a completely separate space that, mimicked some things in our world as well.
Right. No, it was good world building. There was a lot of cool. I like the way she works her magic throughout. There was consequences to it. She'd obviously put a lot of thought into how it worked. And how she was going to have her character come into it rather than oh, poof, there it is.
Yeah, she had to work hard for her magic. When she used magic, it was an effort. And you don't see that a lot. Usually it's alakazam. And this was very much, excuse me while I painstakingly embroider this detailed object to hopefully make it strong enough that an arrow won't hurt me.
I know that sounded exhausting. Having done needlework before, I was like, my goodness.
And my needlework is really bad. I am not the if you look at the back, it is ugly.
So we are not wearing that to go into battle.
No. There'd be a lot of holes. I liked the sense of kind of There was a little bit of everything, right? This
Mhm,
was like the kitchen sink book. She wasn't afraid to take an idea and really run with it in an interesting direction.
mhm.
There's a sort of 12 days of Christmas thing that happens at one point, which like the first thing I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then the next thing I was like, wait, I see what you're doing.
We are on to you.
We're on to you. Yeah, and I thought that was like, it was funny because, of course, the characters within the story didn't exist in a world where the 12 Days of Christmas is a song and a rhyme that people know. So they were just like, oh, isn't it weird how he's sending all these gifts? And, it was kind of this like little wink to the reader, like, you know what's going on here.
It's like, have a chuckle. Here you go.
Yeah. Even though this was a really intense book in a lot of ways, it was also lighthearted at the same time. I felt like there were plenty of places to chuckle, even though there was a lot of really terrible things going on.
Right. And as far as terrible things, I mean, I'm not giving anything away. Like in the first chapter, or maybe chapter and a half, there is a witch burning. I mean, that's where we start. So, bad things happen in this book. It is not a warm and fluffy, all is good with the world.
No. And like one of the things that actually kind of got to me eventually was the sense that like no one was trustworthy.
Mm.
And that's not 100% true, but like there came a point, and maybe this is just really good writing, because at one point in the story, I was like, there is no one she can trust. No one in the whole world that she can say, that person will, be bad or betray me or do something awful. And I'm not going to say whether that's 100% true or not, but it felt true.
Right.
Like I felt like I was right down there in the depths with her of,
Right.
there's nobody safe.
I am completely alone in this world.
Yeah. But sometimes, until you realized why a character was acting the way they were, there was like one point in the story when I thought, really? This person too? Really? Then the motivation became clear and I was like, oh, okay, I'm with you. But
Right.
for a hot second, I was like, really? Everyone is against her. Really?
It's like when you're watching a movie or TV or something, like, really, why can they never be happy? Why?
Right?
Give them 5 seconds of happiness. See, again, with book reviews, you don't want to give stuff away. I'm trying to think of what else do we usually ask each other for these book reviews?
Well, let's talk about the romance element. There is, a kind of a setup of a romance here. It is very PG. It is very like, if this were a movie, you could sit next to your 13-year-old and watch this and not get uncomfortable.
That's a good quantifier there.
Because like when you're a kid and you're like with your parents and a scene comes on TV and everybody just like has to stare at the television and not look at each other because like, oh my god,
they're like, nothing's happening, just ignore it.
Nothing's happening. We're just going to not talk about this. Yeah. And there's not that. The level of romance was acceptable even to me.
Mm-hmm. That's true. You don't like your romances.
I don't. I could have done with, like slightly less, but it was a really, if you're one of those people who's like looking for a romance, this is not for you. If you're okay with like a romantic subplot. Yeah.
There was some background things, but nothing, it wasn't in your face. You could ignore it if you wanted to.
Yeah, pretty much. And I feel like she hit the notes of a romance though. Like if you look at like the genre map of what romance has to have, there's the initial meeting, and then there's like the getting to know you, and then there's like the incident that draws them closer, and there's the misunderstanding, and the misunderstanding was, wow, that was a hell of a misunderstanding.
Shh, quiet.
Hashtag no spoilers. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to read this book because I was intrigued by the idea of a deaf main character.
Same. And I liked her writing sample that we had before, so I was like, well, that was enough to draw me in and make me want to read it. And she has proven that I will continue to do so. I'm definitely going to read the next book in this because I want to know.
And yeah, that's the thing. Like, I came to it out of curiosity about like, how do you make this work? Mm-hmm. But I stuck with it because it was really very good.
Yeah, there's many ways that this could have gone badly. And it was handled just so great.
Yeah. This was a minefield.
So, From both of us, I'm thinking thumbs up.
2 thumbs.
Yeah, 2 thumbs. 4 thumbs. 4 thumbs. Does the puppy say thumbs up though? Just having
I think
grumbled
so. He's done grumbling. He's now just laying on the floor being grumpy that I'm not paying attention.
Because you're looking at that other dog. How dare you?
How dare I?
Cool. So go check out this book. It is Unravel by Amelia Loken.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. And we liked it a lot. If you're new here
and you want to help us out,
don't forget to like,
review,
and subscribe.